7. As designs for space stations went, it was unexceptional, functional rather than luxurious. As locations for space stations go, it was bizarre in the extreme, circling a burned-out red giant with not even the remnants of a planetary system showing. The station, situated at a distance of 14 light-minutes from the star, travelled its elliptical orbit in splendid isolation. No space captain in his right mind would consider wandering near such a wreck of a sun, and its lack of planets would keep away everyone, from mining engineers to criminal exiles. The space station was as safe from detection as if it had been outside the galaxy itself. Inside the spinning station, life was more predictable than outer appearances might have suggested. Federation guards stood at every corner, with black helmets, black uniforms, black hand rifles, black boots. Only the commanders were allowed to push their helmets up, revealing faces and personalities. This one, noted Villa, played the game of friendship. Yet he had the same insanity deep down inside that all Federation officers had instilled into them through their training, the ruthlessness that would allow them to destroy whole populations if their military strength was threatened in any way. I am Chief Commander Rodin, in charge of Operation D5. Kindly tell me who you are. He remained seated, looking up at the three, making no attempt to invite them to sit. Nor did he seem worried by the convention that the psychological advantage is with the person looking down. He had little time for games. Avon replied, I am Style, this is Jorma, and Avalon. He pointed to Corel and Villa, and spoke in a mild, unthreatening way. We have just completed a journey from Scat through the centre of the galaxy. Shut up! Barked the Chief Commander. What are you thinking of speaking in front of others? Give the code series, man. Avon looked confused and worried. That's just it. Something seems to have gone wrong. Everything was fine as we entered the hole. Rodin sprang to life. Guards, leave the room, he shouted. No one is to enter without my personal command. Treble the guard on the door. Seal the base. Full alert. The guards rushed out, and the door slid shut after them. From beyond it, the sound of running with orders being shouted could be heard reverberating down the corridors. Tell me what happened, said Rodin, finally regaining his calmer attitude. We gathered material as required, or at least I think we did, because everything seems a bit vague now. Then we headed for the hole, and entered dead center, applied reverse thrust, but it seemed to take too long. The vibrations built up, and we all blacked out. We were still trying to sort out what had happened when you contacted us. But is the cargo safe? Cargo? Said Villa, to whom the question seemed aimed. Cargo? He repeated. Rodin pressed the console on his desk. Send in Storer, he barked. Storer turned out to be a fellow officer, dressed in full uniform. He stamped to attention. Something about him puzzled Avon. He averted his eyes. Storer, search the ship that has docked. Check the hold particularly. As Storer left, Rodin turned back to the crew. His voice softened, and his manner changed as he looked at Corel. Jorma, you say your name is. And what was your role on this mission? Or can't you remember that, either? Pilot, sir, Corel replied formally. Good. Rodin stood up. And do you remember what you are doing, or what is going on? Do you even know who you are working for? All three looked innocent. Rodin swore and punched a button on his desk violently enough for most desks to fall apart. Come and get these three out of here, he shouted. The door opened, and two guards came in. Put them in the rest center, and let them try and sleep it off. As Avon, Carell, and Villa were ushered out, Rodin sat back at his desk and pondered the matter. He was still thinking when Storer returned with his report. The hold is empty, but there are signs of raw signum everywhere. The ship has been converted in various ways, including having the extra shielding to allow it through the black hole, and the autolog shows that they have been to Scat and through the hole. "This is insanity," Rodin told him. "We've got so much security and secrecy around this operation that we don't even know who is doing what and where. Which is all very well until a bunch of gooks like these three appear, claiming to have lost their memories. Since I don't know if they should have been here or not, I can't tell if they are telling the truth, and I am strictly forbidden to ask for further information from Command HQ." "Couldn't you circulate their pictures, sir? See if anyone knows of them." "Just as forbidden. No information goes out of here without authorization from the highest of all levels. And I have specifically been told that information includes such things as questions. And if we detain them for months and then discover they are a crack troop of gravity probe experts, we'll get court-martialed for not knowing them. Do you recognize any of them?" "One of them, the one called Style, reminds me of someone, but I can't place it. It may be nothing." Rodin sighed. "What about their computer?" "Now, that is strange, sir. I can't get at it. It won't tell me anything." "New code word?" "Perhaps. Or maybe it's just jamming on everything." "Could have resulted from the forces in the hole, I suppose." "Yes, sir. Except if that were so, how did they receive our command to identify themselves?" Rodin stood up. "We shall just have to hold them until our leader arrives and tells us what to do. Keep the ship guarded. Keep them guarded. But keep them moderately comfortable, just in case they do turn out to be great heroes of the cause." "Chief Commander!" Storer saluted stiffly, turned, and left the room. Villa was impressed by the quarters they were allocated, by the food and drink they were given, and for a moment even forgot his concerns about the plan of action Avon had led him on. Not that their surroundings could be called luxurious, but considering that most people whom Villa came across instantly threw them into prison, it seemed a reasonable approach. He made his point of view well known. Avon, for once, was willing to let Villa chatter. The room was certainly bugged, and with the commander uncertain as to who they were, it was obvious that every word would be recorded. Eventually, however, Villa got tired of talking to himself. He looked at Avon for direction. Avon concluded his detailed examination of the room and brought Villa's attention to 5 points where the bugs were located. None of them, fortunately, was a visual link. "I don't know about you two, but I am certainly going to rest. I feel like I've been battered from here to the other side of the universe," announced Avon in the guise of his new persona. As he spoke, he led Villa to the first bug and mimed the removal of it gently. "So let's keep it quiet," he said ambiguously, and delicately Villa applied his skills. As the final device was removed, Avon went to the bathroom and turned on the water supply. The others joined him. "There are bugs against the main door located on the outside," he said. "The sound of water should make it harder for them to hear. If they can hear nothing, they'll just assume we've all gone to sleep." "What are we going to do?" Villa demanded through clenched teeth. "We're in here, the ship is guarded, and sooner or later they're going to find out that we are not on their side, whatever their side is. And if they can't find out, they'll just hold us here." "I thought you welcomed the luxury," Carell said. "Not as much as I value my life," Villa told her. "Whatever they discover," said Avon, returning to the subject in hand, "they will find that we have been through the black hole. So even if they do find out we are not supposed to have been through, they will quickly work out that we know one hell of a lot, and that means we are worth keeping alive. to find out what we know and how we come to know it. As long as we are alive, we stand a chance of finding out what is going on." "I don't like it," said Villa. "That hardly seems the point." "But we can't just sit here for days on end," Villa objected. "We are certainly not going to do that. Once you have opened the door out of here, I suggest we go for a walk. Since nobody seems to know what is going on, we ought to get away with it. And if we don't, then we just say that memories started coming back, and we wanted to check them out." As Avon had presumed from its shape and style, the station was built on standard lines, and he was easily able to work his way round without losing a sense of direction. The outer rim corridor curved gently beneath their feet as they passed silver door after silver door. The walls, too, were curved and packed with cables and trunking, backup circuits, and every 50 yards there were helpful maps of the whole location. Certain areas, however, were significantly not named. After 5 minutes, Avon led the way down an interior corridor and stopped outside an unmarked door. It looked the same as every other door to Villa, but he made no objection when Avon ordered it opened quickly. The lock was complex, but the principle well known. It took less than a minute. Avon entered carefully and looked around. As he had hoped, the room was empty. Carell and Villa followed rapidly and closed the door after them. Inside, they found a square room measuring no more than 20 feet each way. One wall was taken up by a range of computer hardware, newly installed by the look of it, and clearly fixed into a locked pattern. "Watch the door," Avon commanded, before settling down in front of the main screen at the centre of the control panels. Avon, as always, worked consistently and with a clear mind. Carell, as always, remained relaxed and calm. Villa, as always, was tense, fretful, and about to panic. At the computer, Avon touched a number of keys and watched the displays respond, then touched more controls in response to the information he gathered. At one moment, he called up an outline of the entire base on the screen, but after a few moments' study, he returned to his questioning of the machine. Aware that every time he touched a control it would be recorded on the audit trail and eventually discovered, Avon kept the routine short and was completing the final run of questions when Villa's stage whisper told him someone was approaching. He ushered Villa behind the door and left Carell standing in the middle of the room. The door slid open, and 2 uniformed guards came in. They looked at the beautiful lady facing them. She smiled. They hesitated. The hesitation was enough to enable even Villa the chance to render one of the guards unconscious with a sharp blow to the back of the neck. Avon dealt with the other. "Take the guns," Avon announced. "I don't think we have too much time." "What did you find out?" demanded Villa as they left the computer room. "Villa, if I stand here and tell you now, you won't live long enough to make much use of the information. Move." "Put like that," said Villa, already on the run, "it seems a reasonable suggestion." As they moved back along the outer corridor, Avon called up the ship, ordering preparation for immediate launch followed by maximum power away from the station. As Blake confirmed, Avon shut down the transmission. The group turned a corner. Ahead were 2 guards who looked up in surprise. Avon, Villa, and Carell slid to a halt. All eyes seemed to focus on Avon. Slowly, as to not cause any alarm, he moved his hand to his pocket and brought out a small box. It had 2 slight indentations on one surface. From his other pocket, Avon removed a tiny file. Delicately, watched all the time by the advancing but puzzled guards, he dropped 2 minute specks of liquid into the indentation. "Whatever you see," he said quickly to Carell and Villa, "ignore it. Keep heading for the ship."